Ambassador Vahabov. My name is Mary Kate Fisher. I'm the Deputy Chief of Protocol here, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to the Department of State and the Benjamin Franklin Room for the swearing-in of Daniel Rosenblum as the new Ambassador of the United States. The ceremony will proceed with the signing of the appointment papers and remarks by Ambassador Rosenblum. And now it is my great pleasure to introduce Councillor Ulrich Reckbull for his remarks.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, members of the diplomatic community, members of the State Department family, and all of our other distinguished guests. Welcome to the swearing-in ceremony of Daniel Rosenblum to be the U.S. Ambassador to the Republic of Uzbekistan. Dan, thank you for giving me the privilege of swearing you in. It's a distinct honor and privilege to do so. It's fitting that we hold many of our swearing-in ceremonies in this beautiful room named for our country's very first diplomat, Benjamin Franklin. Franklin set an extremely high standard for American diplomats to follow. Over the course of a 7-year posting to Paris, he convinced France, first, to support our struggle for independence. Secondly, he obtained formal recognition of our newly independent nation. He arranged loans, procured supplies for our fledgling army, and then last, but not least, negotiated the peace treaty that ended the war with Britain. Today, Dan Rosenblum joins the ranks of Franklin's successors, and we fully expect him to meet the Franklin standard. We would like to extend an especially warm welcome to the many members of Dan's family who've joined us today. His wife Sharon, his son Jonah, his sister Miriam, sisters-in-law Donna and Elshiva, brothers-in-law Sheldon, Jacob, and Danny, nieces Malka, Tamar, and Rena, nephews Rafi, Benjamin, and Micha. Unfortunately, his daughter Liana couldn't join us today as she's in Israel studying abroad this semester. I also wanted to welcome the Honorable Yerzhan Kazikhanov, Kazakhstan's ambassador to the United States, who is here today with us. Your Excellency, we are grateful for your presence. I'd also like to welcome Ambassador Pamela Spratland, former United States Ambassador to Uzbekistan, who is also here. Madam Ambassador, thank you for coming. I'd like to also recognize and welcome the Honorable Javlon Vahabov, Uzbekistan's ambassador to the United States, who is also here. Ambassador Vahabov, our bilateral relationship means a great deal to the United States, as you saw firsthand during the historic visit of your president to Washington exactly 1 year ago. We deeply value our security partnership, our growing trade and investment ties, and our diverse and rapidly expanding people-to-people linkages with Uzbekistan. And this is precisely why President Trump and Secretary Pompeo have decided to send to Tashkent one of our very best diplomats, the right diplomat at the right time, and that's Dan Rosenblum. Dan has spent the past 30 years as a graduate student and as a professional focusing on the former communist countries of Eastern Europe and the ex-Soviet Union. For the past 22 years, he has served his country at the State Department. For 17 of those years, he worked on our foreign assistance in that part of the world, ensuring that our aid dollars were supporting America's foreign policy goals, that programs were designed for maximum impact, and that they were responding to the real needs in the countries of the region and well coordinated with other international donors. For the last 5 years, Dan served in the front office of the Bureau of South and Central Asian Affairs, first as the lead diplomat for the United States relations with the 5 Central Asian states, and then later in charge of the Bureau's regional activities, foreign assistance, and public diplomacy. Most everyone in this room already knows Dan, so I don't really need to tell you that he's the consummate diplomat in every sense of the word. Throughout his State Department career, Dan has developed a reputation as someone who is substantive, knowledgeable, collaborative, and driven to find solutions to very complex problems. He is also known as a respectful and empathetic person, someone who genuinely cares about those he works with. Dan's an all-around great guy. It's very important to recognize that he is a representative of our talented and vital civil service here at the State Department. He is one of relatively few civil servants who rise to the rank of ambassador, and that, in and of itself, is an achievement worth celebrating. As Secretary Pompeo recently said, as he reflected on the department's professional ethos, we protect the American people and promote their interests and values around the world by leading our nation's foreign policy. Dan has made an incredible number of friends here in Washington, witness everyone here in this room, and he's made a large number of friends also outside of this country on behalf of it. Now his country is asking him to take on a new challenge. All of us here take great pride in Dan's contribution and his new role as ambassadors. We take great pride in the large corps of State Department personnel working all over the world, so ably representing the department in 191 countries. And we also take enormous pride in sending one of our best diplomats to lead our mission in Tashkent. I'd like to, before we get to the swearing in, take a moment to recognize the weighty legacy of Dan's father, Louis Rosenblum, who passed away 1 month ago at the age of 95. He was a member of the greatest generation. He served our country in World War II, earning a Bronze Star in the Battle of Okinawa. He served our country after the war as a scientist at NASA for 30 years, researching the fuels that launched our rockets into space and pioneering photovoltaic solar technology for use in space and here on Earth. He also launched the human rights movement in the United States on behalf of Jews in the Soviet Union, persecuted for their religious beliefs. His citizen activism eventually led to changes in United States foreign policy that helped ensure freedom of conscience and freedom of movement for millions of people. Lou Rosenblum's achievements also inspired his son and led him to where he stands today, on this podium, about to be sworn in as the next U.S. ambassador to Uzbekistan. Dan, we know you will continue to make your father proud as you make us proud. And with that, it's time to administer your oath of office. I understand that Dan will be sworn in today using a family Bible. It was his mom's Bible, and has noted in it very many of the family important moments in life. So I think that's has special meaning. Please raise your right hand. I, Daniel N. Rosenblum,
I, Daniel N. Rosenblum,
do solemnly swear that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith
that I will bear true faith
and allegiance to the same,
and allegiance to the same,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and I will well and faithfully
and I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties of the office
discharge the duties of the office
on which I'm about to enter.
on which I am about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you all for coming. This is great. As I thought about what I was going to say today, I realized what a rare privilege this is. How many times in life do you get to stand in front of a big crowd of family and friends and colleagues, handpicked by you, at an event that's about you, and say pretty much whatever you want? This might be the one and only. Now, I know what you're thinking. He's a little too excited about this oratorical opportunity. Well, rest assured that I'm going to try not to abuse the privilege. But just in case, what's the next event? Seriously though, whenever I speak publicly, I try to bear in mind the wise words of the French writer André Gide, who once remarked, "Everything that needs to be said has already been said. But since no one was listening, everything must be said again." One thing that you can never say too often is thank you. And so I want to begin by thanking Councilor Bradwell, who was so supportive and helpful during a critical period of my confirmation process, and I want to thank him for agreeing to swear me in today. And I also want to thank the President and the Secretary of State for showing confidence in me. Huge thanks also to the Bureau for South and Central Asian Affairs, especially former SCA Acting Assistant Secretary Ambassador Bill Todd, former Acting PDAS and SCA Howard Van Franken, and SCA Acting Assistant Secretary Alice Wells for believing in my potential. Your steadfast support at every step of the process meant so much to me. I'm also very grateful to Jen Wicks and to her team in presidential appointments, and to Assistant Secretary Taylor and Tiffany Reeser, Legislative Affairs, for their unfailing support and guidance throughout the long and winding road towards confirmation. And a special shout out to Uzbekistan Desk Officer Kakoli Ray, to Monica Colon, our amazing OMS, and the entire SCA Sen team, and Mark Wood, our PMO, who all of whom made today's event possible. Ambassador Mikhailov, thank you for being here with us. I'm so glad you're here today. You do a tremendous job of representing your country here in Washington. And I have a short message for you to deliver to President Mirziyoyev and the people of Uzbekistan. Uzbekistan'da koşma şartlarını takile oluş orzu havasim almakta oluştu. Uzbekistan'ın tarafı madaniyeti halkını yakından organişni ve Amerika koşma şartlar bilen Uzbekistan ortasında çukur ve müstakam alokalar ornatışını intizorlik bilen kutyapan. Toshkent'ta yakın orada uçlaşmışlar. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the honor of a lifetime to have the opportunity to represent the United States of America in Uzbekistan, and I'm especially excited to be going right now. As someone who has studied and worked in the Soviet and post-Soviet region for nearly 3 decades, as someone who has seen tremendous movement in that time period in all directions, forwards, backwards, and sideways, I can say that the past 2 years in Uzbekistan have been a time of unprecedented positive change, as President Mirziyoyev and his government have begun a fundamental reform of Uzbek's foreign and domestic policy. And the past 2 years have also been a time of positive developments in the U.S.-Uzbekistan relationship. President Mirziyoyev's highly successful visit to Washington last May was only the most visible manifestation. For the past 2 years behind the scenes, we've been building the foundation for a healthy and productive long-term relationship based on trust, respect, and mutual interest. I see my job as building on the accomplishments of the past few years by broadening and deepening those ties. My number one priority as ambassador will be the security and health of my embassy team and all American citizens living or visiting Uzbekistan. Beyond that, I have 5 priority objectives for my tenure, and please note, these are not rank ordered. First, to deepen our security partnership with Uzbekistan. which means not only working together to bring peace and prosperity to Afghanistan, but also cooperating to combat violent extremism, transnational crime, narcotics trafficking, and other threats. Second, to support implementation of the ambitious economic and political reforms that the Uzbek government has begun. Third, to help U.S. companies to take full advantage of opportunities to sell their products and services and make profitable investments in Uzbekistan. These opportunities will emerge as Uzbekistan implements reforms that make it easier for both domestic and foreign companies to do business. Fourth, to continue focusing on the protection of basic human rights. We will speak out for freedom of expression, freedom of association, and freedom of religion, while supporting the development of a vibrant civil society. We will acknowledge positive developments, and there have been a number of notable ones over the past 2 years, but we'll also offer constructive criticism where warranted. And fifth, to broaden engagement between American citizens and Uzbek citizens. I want to significantly expand educational, cultural, scientific, and business exchanges in both directions. By doing so, we'll be building a network of linkages between our two great nations that will ensure our relationship thrives for decades to come. Ladies and gentlemen, before I yield the floor, I want to share some thoughts with you on 3 important topics: grateful turtles, deep roots, and evolving oaths. In that order, obviously. A very wise man once said, if you're driving down a country road and you see a turtle sitting on top of a fence post, you know he had some help getting there. Today, I feel like that turtle. Not entirely understanding how I got up here, but knowing for sure that I didn't get here on my own. I got here only because of family, friends, and professional colleagues, many of whom are in this room today. I particularly want to mention my first set of bosses, the folks responsible for bringing me into the State Department in the first place: Dick Morningstar, Bill Taylor, and Kathy Cavalli. The work environment they created in the Assistance Coordinator's office when I joined in the late 1990s was creative, entrepreneurial, and team-oriented. That experience inspired and shaped my subsequent State Department career. Kudos to all the amazing women and men who I was so privileged to work with in SNSC and EURACE during 17 years in that office. It's been my great privilege to work with many mentors and role models over the past 22 years at State, and it's risky to name any of them since I would surely miss others. But I have to single out Tom Adams, there's Tom, who I had the great joy of serving as deputy and whose professionalism, wicked sense of humor, common sense, and common decency set a standard I can only ever aspire to. I also want to mention the assistant secretaries I worked for in EUR and SCA, who each had their own unique way of combining vision, values, diplomatic savvy, and superhuman endurance into a powerful package. Beth Jones, Dan Freed, Victoria Newland, Bob Blake, and Nisha Biswal. I think that. I also feel very lucky that I got to work closely with so many amazing ambassadors over the past few decades. Watching them lead their missions and serve our country was inspiring. If I can apply even 10% of what I learned from them, I'll be doing pretty well. Some of them are here today. I see a number of their faces here, but I don't want to start naming them because I will leave someone out. But there is one I do want to single out, and that is my illustrious predecessor in Tashkent, Pamela Spradlin. Thank you. To build this relationship and for your unfailing professionalism, integrity, and commitment to America's interests. In short, for some time, I have been in awe of my Foreign Service colleagues. I think most of you know, and the counselor mentioned this as well, that I am not a member of the Foreign Service. What you may not know, however, is that I nearly was. In 1991, I had the opportunity to join the service and declined it to pursue a different career path. Later, I found another way to work with these amazing Foreign Service professionals, first as a State Department contractor, later as a civil servant, and for the past 16 years, a career civil servant. So here I am, a career civil servant, about to serve as an ambassador, AKA a turtle on a fence post. And that brings me from turtles to roots. Except roots was the second thing, right? Believe it or not, I have roots in the civil service. My father, Louis Rosenblum, who the counselor talked about, a PhD chemist, was a researcher and division chief for NASA for 30 years. Growing up, I knew my father as a civil servant. I was raised to believe that government work was noble work, and that our nonpartisan, merit-based career civil service is a huge asset for our nation, a foundation stone of our democracy. And so, to my many civil service colleagues here today, I am so proud of what we have accomplished together over the years. I salute what you do in service of your country day in and day out, year after year, through administrations of both parties. You represent the institutional memory, the technical expertise, the root system, as it were, of this great department. And like a tree, this place could not stand without you. I also have roots in the U.S. Congress. I spent 4 years working for U.S. Senator Carl Levin in the mid-1980s. And some of my colleagues from that time are here today. Peter Kiriakopoulos and Ellen Giles. Thank you guys for being here. I learned so much from that experience about politics and policy, about the legislative process, about how this city works, and about how compromise can help you get half a loaf rather than just crumbs. To this day, and I took away from those years a deep appreciation for the role of checks and balances in our democracy and for the oversight role played by Congress. To this day, I view members of the House and Senate and their staff as partners in making and carrying out our foreign policy. And I hope we'll get lots of CODELs and staff DELs visiting us. And speaking of checks and balances, they are enshrined in our Constitution, the document I swore to support and defend just a few minutes ago in my oath of office. And that oath is my final subject, I promise. 6.5 years ago, I was honored to stand in this very same room to observe the swearing-in ceremony of my colleague, Ambassador Richard Norland, to be ambassador to Georgia. Oh, there he is back there. And by the way, prior to that, Dick was one of my illustrious predecessors as ambassador to Uzbekistan. But on that day in 2012, Dick had the honor to be sworn in by Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And Justice Ginsburg gave a short but fascinating history of the oath that ambassadors and other office holders take today. She noted that, quote, the original oath was sparer than the one now prescribed. It read simply, I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States. Period. At the outbreak of the Civil War in 1861, the oath was augmented to include a promise to defend the Constitution against all enemies, domestic and foreign. In 1868, the war was over, the Union was preserved, and the order was changed to put foreign enemies before domestic. And then more changes were added later. As I stand before you today, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to propose that we legislate another amendment to the Officer's Oath, but I will suggest that we members of the Civil and Foreign Service should use occasions like this to reflect on exactly what we are supporting and defending. It won't surprise you to hear that I have reflected. I had 10 months to do this. And the result of my reflection is the following augmented oath of office that I'd like to share with you now as I prepare to take up my duties as Ambassador of the United States of America to the Republic of Uzbekistan. I, Daniel Rosenblum, do solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States, recognizing that our Constitution was intended to form a more perfect union, and that the job of perfecting that union continues, even 230 years after it was first formed. I do solemnly swear to never forget that I am working for the American people, that they pay my salary, and have given me the privilege of doing the job that I respect. I do solemnly swear to work tirelessly to advance the security and prosperity of the American people while recognizing that this can be done in ways that also benefit Uzbekistan and its people. I do solemnly swear that I will approach my job humbly, aware that I have a lot to learn about being an ambassador and about the country where I will be representing the United States. And also aware that I won't be doing it alone, but together with an extremely capable and dedicated embassy team. I do solemnly swear to treat all the people I work with and all others I encounter, be they citizens of Uzbekistan or of other nations, with respect and dignity, regardless of their gender, religion, race, national origin, sexual orientation, or political persuasion. I do solemnly swear to strive to promote through my work the values that make America great, including democracy, freedom, rule of law, equal justice, equal opportunity, and tolerance for differences in belief and opinion. And finally, I do solemnly swear to end this speech. And I save the most important thanks for last. Thanks to my loved ones, to my family, to my sisters, to Jonah, Liana, and Sharon for reminding me that I am a dad and a husband, a son, and a brother first, and everything else second. Rahmat, thank you.
Our official ceremony for this morning. As the ambassador said, thank you for joining us today